Hey everyone, and welcome to my first episode of Hidden Indies. This is going to be an ongoing series where I cover a few different indie games that I felt were either underappreciated or just not well known. So hopefully this ends up being something you enjoy watching, and that helps spread the word about some titles that might have flown under your radar. This episode is going to be Nintendo Switch focused, but these games might also be available on other platforms as well. If you enjoy this or have any ideas on how I can make it better, please sound off in the comments below and enjoy. The first game we're going to be looking at is the recently released Athenian Rhapsody. This is a really fun one, but it's pretty difficult. It does have a chill mode though that you can toggle on if you're struggling. The best way I can describe the target audience for this one is if you liked Undertale, then you'll like this one too. It has a lot of charm and personality with lots of funny moments, although those can be hit or miss since it depends on the player's personality, since not everyone shares the same sense of humor. It has some really great pixel art and music. There's 16 possible party members for you to recruit, and during battles you can either fight for XP or try to befriend your enemies if you want to take a more pacifist route. Each battle feels unique, as each enemy type has their own mini-games tied to dodging their attacks. Every interaction will feel unique too if you take the befriend them route. How your Rhapsody plays out depends on your actions, so there's a lot of variety to it. It has some puzzles and also some parts that will require you to type in words using an on-screen keyboard. It even has some online features, if you could believe that. You can share Rhapsodies with your friends, and they've even teased doing online events. This one has a lot of variety across the board, and that for me kept it feeling fresh throughout my playtime. Definitely give this one a look if you like this style of RPG, and don't be afraid to tweak some settings to make this one better suit your tastes and difficulty. Game number 2 released a few months ago, and this one is called Crypt Stalker. If you enjoy and miss the classic style Castlevania games, then you'll be in for a treat with this one because that's exactly what it is. It's also not just like one type of Castlevania game either. It has the main game, which is akin to the NES games, but it also has one that's similar to the original Game Boy games. It plays out in a linear fashion with a wide variety of different items that alter your attacks, enemy types, stage hazards, unique bosses. It has a lot going on for it. The combat has the standard whip attack, but in place of sub-weapons, you have a ranged gun attack. The different pickups alter how your gun shoots. I actually really like this concept, and tinkering with each one to find out which power-up I like the best was a lot of fun. It has some tricky platforming sections with moving platforms, and even an underwater section that requires you to make sure you don't drown by collecting air from bubbles. There's a lot of content here for a surprisingly low price. Challenges, achievements, quests, the different games I mentioned. It even has a boss rush mode, and even more quests if you head to the eShop and download the free DLC. I'm not really sure why they didn't add this content in an update since it's free, but whatever. I let you know, so it's all good, right? My only real complaint with the game, that isn't even a negative really, it just takes some adjustment, is that the default movement speed is actually pretty fast compared to Castlevania. So if you're like me and have played a lot of Castlevania or the retro style Bloodstained titles, you'll need to adjust to this to prevent yeeting yourself into some pits. Check this one out if this style of gameplay tickles your fancy. Our third and final game for this episode has a mouthful of a game title. It's Garbage Pail Kids, Mad Mike, and the Quest for the Stale Gum. This one actually released back in 2022, but I played it recently, so that's why it's making the list. This one is an NES platformer that was ported to modern platforms. If you aren't familiar with the Garbage Pail Kids, well, I don't blame you because I'm not really either, and I was born in the 80s. This game would have fit perfectly back in the NES era, and it's really well designed. You have 4 different kids you can switch between. Each one has their own unique abilities and health bar. This aspect of it reminded me of the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game on NES. You can play the levels in any order you desire. Similar to Mega Man or DuckTales' level select screen, it borrows a lot of elements from games in the era it attempts to mimic, but it does it so well with so much personality that it stands on its own 2 feet really well. Each of the levels feels really unique, and there's times when switching characters is advantageous. I had my favorite character to use based on my favorite attack type, but switching between them definitely felt beneficial at times. They stayed so faithful to the source material that they even included a trading card system so that you can trade cards with NPCs. These each have unique purposes, but they allow you to do things like revive one of your characters if they have perished, for example. It's a really fun platformer and worth playing even if you aren't a Garbage Pail Kids fan. I never realized how disgusting the Garbage Pail Kids are, since your attacks are things like shooting snot or vomit to eliminate your enemies. It's absolutely vile. This one is available on a lot of different platforms, so it's almost impossible to not have access to it, and you can even grab an NES physical version from IM8-bit if you want to. That brings us to the end of this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Sound off in the comments below and let me know. Also, if you have any games that you feel are hidden gems, let me know that too, and I might even feature them in a future episode. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.